Hi folks, we hope you'll enjoy the upcoming answers to this hot question. What was your biggest crap, no going back now moment? Every time I solo traveled and arrived in a new country. Same here. Also, solo moving to a new country. My plane touched the ground at about midnight in Stockholm and I was like crap, I'm 23 and I live alone in Stockholm. No going back now. Me taking pictures of the North Korean military. If I was caught I would be in a prison camp now. Can we see the pictures? When I was younger, letting my older cousin talk me into a canoe ride down a flooded river. We'd planned it days in advance but there was a lot of heavy rain in the area and the normally calm river was near flood level and quite rough. I really didn't want to do it but I didn't want to let him down either so I still went. I knew as soon as we saw the river this was a terrible idea. The whole thing was a poop show and I honestly though we were going to die. We had no control and at one point we got stuck nose down in a large rock, knowing if we tipped out we were drowning. We somehow made it out and to the shore where we walked back with the canoe. Rule number 1 with any kind of paddle/unpowered water sport, if you have any doubts, stop. Even in a shallow river, that thing flips and conks you on the head, you drown. Wear your PFD, and follow your gut. Canoeing over a waterfall. Yeah, stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way or nothing at all. But I think you're moving too fast. I hopped a freight train once, and the moment it hits 15 to 20 miles per hour, you're just along for the ride. But the real no going back moment came when the train stopped on a siding outside Winnemucca. After waiting there for like 5 hours, I decided to walk into town and get some ice cream sandwiches. As soon as I got 50 yards from the train, I realized, if it starts rolling now, I'll be too far away to chase it down. I'll just be stuck in this town for a while. And unreliable. Don't do it. Also, I should point out that Winnemucca is home to some of America's best Basque restaurants, fantastic cowboy heritage sites, and it's the gateway to the Black Rock Desert. It's got something for everyone, not just stranded hobos. There's definitely no going back from Winnemucca. Stepping off that sandbar I could barely reach to swim out to the girl caught in a riptide, and not knowing how a riptide worked. It took what felt like hours but, spoiler alert, we made it. Too early in the season for lifeguards. I remember calling out to people walking their dogs on the beach but we were so far out they didn't even look towards us. I'm sure she is eternally grateful that you took that step. Don't know, she was a friend of a friend and I barely knew her. Mountain biking with some friends on a new trail, which wasn't even a bike trail. We hiked most of the way up since it was too steep to ride up. Carried our bikes all the way up. Rested at the top for a bit and then rolled over the edge. I remember as my front tire crested and gravity started taking over I thought, there's no way I'm stopping now, unless a tree stops me. I know a similar feeling. I was mountain biking too and out of some really dumb instinct I pulled the front brake way too hard. It wasn't my bike so I didn't know it well. Luckily I didn't break anything but when I started taking off it was a really bad feeling. Parachute jump. My life is now no longer in my hands. Oh well. Geronimo. First time I went skydiving was a tandem jump and the guy told me on the ground once we get in the door we'll rock back and forth 3 times, on the 3rd time forward just roll out the door. So, me being the trusting sort thought that was a solid plan. We get up to altitude, open the door, I put my feet on the little platform and cross my arms just like he told me to. The fricker rocked back once and pushed us out the door immediately. My only thought was that wasn't 3. Oh frick, we're falling. My first tandem jump was in Russia and I speak no Russian. We were in the doorway and my guy is like Mop 6B1N Moan? And I was like ooh, okay. Harasho. And then we were off. Getting in the ambulance after suffering a grand mal seizure from alcohol withdrawals. When I finally said enough is enough and decided I needed to quit drinking before it killed me, I thought I could detox on my own as I was terrified of hospitals. I was wrong. I spent a week detoxing in the ICU, and now, almost a full year later, I'm still very happily sober and I'm completely thriving. I've witnessed 2 friends seize from alcohol withdrawals, it's crazy. One of my friends fell back into alcohol and nearly died from liver failure. Through some sort of a miracle he survived and is doing well. I can remember having what was supposed to be our last conversation on the phone. He wasn't supposed to make it through the weekend. Good job, I'm happy for you. When I asked my crush if she is ready for a relationship with me. The 2 hours I waited for a reply took forever. Also sadly she said no. When I was about to get on the plane to my first semester of med school, my dad, never one for sentiment, said, well, you're now actually worth more dead than alive, don't screw this up. The feeling when the plane takes off, knowing there's no turning back. It all depends on you. A scary feeling that is. True, in my time impersonating a pilot, that was usually the most unnerving feeling. Frank Abagnale Jr., is that you? That first time being dropped off on the Appalachian Trail several states away from home and watching the car speed off into the distance with nothing by my own legs and a stick I found to get me back. I love that stick. I'd frick that stick if it had genitals. Well, you can always let the stick frick you. Don't let a lack of genitals come between you. It's the 21st century, man. Live your best life. Help me get the splinters out of my donkey? Walking into a MMA fight and the cage closes behind you. How did it go? Pretty okay, I would say. I got punched in the face a lot but subbed my opponent with an armbar. It was just an amateur level fight, but you learn a lot even there. Like you don't really hear your coach, you are way too consumed by what's going on, at least in the first few fights. Also, you can't really improvise, so a game plan is pretty important because you will just revert to the basics you practiced. Also, you get effing tired as duck. Just stuff you don't really understand if you're never in a fight. Here, try this hot wing. Took a bite and for the next 18 hours, I could only focus on how this was a crime against humanity. And for those now asking, it was the last dab 30 on a drumstick. It was coated all over. I just ate one big bite. And then I went and shoved my head under a cold shower. Then, it was bed and bathroom for several hours as I threw up most of it, but some got digested. I knew going it that it was gonna be hot. My former roommate was a hot sauce aficionado. He never once handed me a wing that was less than a habanero sauce. The question was, am I about to have Ghost, Pepper X, Carolina Reaper, habanero, etc. The positive pregnancy test. We were trying, but seeing the test my first thought was honestly, oh crap, what have we done? He's now 8 months old and it is the best, but still the scariest, decision we ever made. Oh, this feeling. I remember sitting on the toilet, staring at the positive in the window on that test. I leaned my head against the wall and closed my eyes, and the room still soon and spun. It was the most complete sense of, well, this is what you wanted. Now what? The knowledge that nothing in life would ever be the same. I ended up miscarrying that pregnancy, and 2 subsequent more. No other pregnancy test carries the same weight for me as that initial one. It was like I'd walked through a door into an entirely new wing of life. My kid is 14 now. She's amazing. It was all worth it. I made a budget yesterday to figure out how much I'd need to move out. If I worked 2 more hours than planned at a starter job I've lined up, I could do it easily, with all the optional delo. That's when it hit me that I'm not in college anymore and I actually could have the money to live independently. One piece of advice, build up some savings before you move out. Like 3 to 6 months of rent savings. Yay, this is the best advice you're gonna hear. If crap hits the fan, like the odorous excrement that's spinning above us currently, then you have a monetary cushion. A bit dark, but when I took a bunch of pills in a suicide attempt. It was around 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night and I had just gotten into an argument with my mom. I laid down in my bed and thought about my life, considered asking my mom to take me to the hospital, but decided against it. I thought, Vale, this is it. I'm dying. Then I fell asleep. I took more than the lethal dose of Seroquel XR but somehow woke up in the morning, slow, but perfectly fine. I consider it a glitch in the matrix, but one I am grateful for. This was in August 2019, and I'm doing a lot better now. Still struggling, but not suicidal. Well, that sounds rough. But for whatever reason you made it here and we're glad to have you aboard. Keep strong. This is your second chance. You're here for a reason and needed. Please stay strong. During takeoff on my first ever flight at the age of 30. I have a real intense fear of heights. It's funny, I've recently, over the last 10 years or so, developed a fear of heights. It really only applies on balconies or tall bridges, but in an airplane it's like I don't care. It's weird. I hate look over edges, so maybe I have a fear of falling more than heights. Like looking out a plane window is fine, but if my head's against the glass it's not. Psychedelics, particularly DMT, because it all happens so quickly and intensely. Salvia. Never again. Only lasts 5 minutes, but holy poop does it feel like an eternity. It's like your entire reality gets smashed into thousands of pieces and you're desperately trying to piece it back together, or getting thrust into the space between the multiverses and you're trying to figure out which one you belong in again. Having your consciousness merged with a red Solo cup on the dresser is the kind of experience a man needs no more than one of in his life. I love reading salvia trip reports. When I laid in the bed of my psychiatric hospital's bedroom for the first time, that's an awful, lonely feeling, ain't it? I got put in a psych ward once when I tried to go to rehab. Frick that crap. If anyone from the VA is reading this, that is not the best way to help a self-admitted drug addict, you ducks. Yes 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 yes. Went to a psych ward in Richmond when I was 15 and came out worse. I volunteered myself to go for the sake of my family and huge regret. What would have been your answer or question? Leave it in the comments below. Slap that like and subscribe button for more, and check out the link in the video description for even more answers. Peace out, and catch you in the next video.